It's unbelievable how many business owners actually don't have any idea how much their business is worth. So it's quite common for people to have no idea that we even exist or that we're even a service out there.
All right, welcome back to the Untrapped Entrepreneur Podcast. I have Mo. Mo, how do you say your last name? I don't want to mess it up, man.
Bousaid.
Bousaid. Okay.
Yep.
You'll notice Mo has a thick West Texas accent.
Yep. London, Kentucky, actually.
That's right. Mo's got a business brokerage business that he owns. He's going to tell you a little bit about that. As you all know, season 2 is about being married and running your own business, which we'll dive deep into. I'm getting to know Mo today for the first time, you all as well. But Mo, let's start out with just learning a little bit more about your business. I've always been fascinated with business brokerages, and especially right now, because you hear all these stories about there's all this money, dry powder, people are buying businesses, and there's cycles where no one's buying businesses. Interest rates are crazy. But tell us a little bit more about your business. And then just, if you could, just for my own enlightenment, like what's going on in the industry right now?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, Ben. I'm very excited to speak to you today. So simply put, I help people buy and sell businesses. I give them free valuations whenever they're curious about what their business could be worth. It's unbelievable how many business owners actually don't have any idea how much their business is worth. So it's quite common for people to have no idea that we even exist or that we're even a service out there. So a lot of my business is based on education and just being able to help business owners understand, where they're currently at and how much harder they need to work if they have a certain goal in mind. We have 80 offices throughout the country, about 350 agents, and we're a franchise. Our home office is here in Vegas, and we're rapidly approaching 100 franchisees throughout the country.
Well, and are you the franchisor, Mo?
No, I'm one of the franchisees as well as I'm one of the corporate members, from the corporate team.
Gotcha. And so what market do you have? What's your area of coverage?
So I'm licensed in Las Vegas, California, well, Nevada, California, and my wife is licensed in Arizona and Florida. So we kind of cover all of those 4 markets together.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you could do deals in any one of those 4 states?
Correct.
Gotcha. If a deal comes out of a different state, sounds like you guys have a great network. You could probably refer
Exactly.
someone to. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of synergy between the offices because of the relocation aspect. There's always someone moving somewhere and they need to sell something to be able to move. And then as soon as they move, they want to buy something. So there's a lot of synergy there.
Yeah. Any particular vertical or company size, EBITDA size that you guys focus on?
We're really a main street business broker, so we don't really focus on a specific industry. I would say our sweet spot is sub 25 million in revenue.
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. Well, guys, if you got on the podcast just to sell your business, you can just stop listening. You can contact Mo if you're sub 25 million in revenue, or buy the business, either one, right? If you want to buy something.
Yeah, that's actually the easiest way to increase the revenue of your company is to buy a competitor, and the SBA offers financing of 0% down, so it's a no-brainer
Yeah,
whenever you're doing something like that.
absolutely. Well, before we talk into marriage, tell us a little bit about what's going on in the business broker market. Interest rates are sky high. Is it harder to get deals done? Like, what are you seeing right now?
Good question. I mean, interest rates have definitely changed the landscape for us in the fact that sellers are more open to doing seller financing now. Previously, when interest rates were low, there wasn't really too much upside for a seller to do in-house financing. But now, with interest rates approaching 11% with the SBA, it's very advantageous for a business owner to do seller financing. If you could get, 10% on a note, it's wonderful. So we're seeing a lot of that. There's still a ton of deals that are taking place. After COVID, there's been a flurry of baby boomers that are just ready to retire. So the majority of my week nowadays is basically working with business owners of retirement age.
I've heard that is I don't know if it's the opportunity, but certainly an opportunity that I hear people talking about a lot is, all these statistics around baby boomers, the numbers that are retiring, the numbers that own businesses, the numbers of those that don't have someone naturally to pass the business to, and they're not looking for a private equity exit. They're just trying to bow out of the business and have some money for retirement. Um, is that kind of the biggest opportunity, or one of the biggest opportunities you see from a buy sell standpoint?
Yeah, I would say so because the benefit there is the business owner isn't selling because, the business isn't very good financially. It's because they want to retire and, take some chips off the table, enjoy their quality of life. And there's an amazing opportunity there for a buyer to be able to harness the experience of that business owner. Most of the time, when we do a transaction like that, there's a transition period. So post closing, once the deal's closed, the previous business owner would stay with the new owner for up to a year, 2 years, to be able to give them all of the knowledge and the relationships that they've built over the years.
Mm, yeah, makes sense. Okay, man. Well, thank you for giving me the brokerage update. I've been waiting to talk to you to hear that, so hopefully you guys found that valuable. Um, all right, season two, being married and owning a business. I've said this on like every episode this season, is that you're in a very special category. Most businesses fail. And how long have you been in business?
10 years.
10 years. So you're already in like 1% land, and then you were married for a period of time. How many years married?
We got married in 2016.
Okay. So that puts you, let's see, 4, 7. Yeah. So I think you're in like another, very small percentage, because most marriages end in divorce. And then I think they, have this 7-year itch. So you're just past that up.
Yeah, we're way past that.
Yeah. Um, so you've got, a truly group of extraordinary people in my mind, where you've beat the odds in business, you've beat the odds in marriage, and you're in a particularly special position where it sounds like you and your wife are working together. So I want to dive into that, because that doesn't happen very often. Take us back to the beginning, though. How'd you meet your wife? Um, did you have a plan to go into business together from the beginning, or did that just kind of happen in a different way? So take us back to the beginning, from the time you met, briefly, and then how you guys decide to go into business together.
Okay, so when I moved to the US, I was fresh out of high school in England. I just turned 16, just graduated. I was done with school, done with, England, moved to the US and realized I was an immigrant. So I had to work like an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit of a culture shock coming from London to go into Orlando in terms of how slow it was. So one day I was out in downtown Orlando on a Sunday fun day, drinking with some friends, and we were going back to our cars. And my friend said that their car was in this parking garage. So we go into the garage, looking for their car, can't find it. A girl comes up to us and she says, "Can I please ask a favor? I've lost my phone and my wallet, and I don't have any money to get out of the garage. Could you please lend me $5?" So I pulled out $10, gave it to her, made sure that she was able to get out. And lo and behold, she called me a couple of days later and asked me if, I wanted to go out on a date. We went out on a date, and my first date with her was actually meeting her dad, because her dad was visiting in town. So I managed to meet her and her dad on the first date. And ever since then, we've just been connected by the hip. There's
Oh
been
my
no
God.
separating us.
I feel like you
Um,
left a piece of the story out. Hold on a second. How did the phone number get transferred over? Because you were just
Oh
supposed to
well,
give her
she
money.
noticed my accent, and then she asked for my number, and that's typically how that would go back then. I wasn't asking for numbers back then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's supposed to just be a money exchange. If there's a key piece of data that made this whole
Yeah,
thing work.
you're right. You're right. That was a key piece.
Okay. All right. So you helped her out. She reached out. You guys had a date. Fast tracked it. Dad approved. How long until you got married after that?
We met in 2013 and we got married in 2016, and then we had our baby in 2018. So it was all really fast. We were together for a year, and then we left Orlando to move to Vegas to chase our career in business brokerage.
Okay. And then the business opened what year?
2015.
2015. So met 2013, business opens 2015, married 2016, and then you said you have kids?
Yeah, we have a baby. We have a 5-year-old now, but we had him in 2018.
2018. Okay. Yeah, so for our listeners, this is like you're seeing a theme here of entrepreneurs just they start when they start doing things, they just start doing everything and we do things fast and it's like why wait?
Right.
Just very typical story though for I think common theme across all of our guests is met a girl 2013, started a business 2015, married 2016, kid 2018. Like why
Always
wait?
evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so you've been together a couple of years, and then decide to start a business together, or was it like one person's idea and the other person tagged along?
Well, I had run into business brokerage when we originally moved to the country because a lot of immigrants have to buy a business in order to get a visa to live here. So I came familiar with the industry then, and I was always attracted towards it. And we found out that in Nevada, you have to have a real estate license and a business broker permit to do these types of transactions. So there's a real large barrier to entry, which means there's not really too much competition in the space.
Hmm.
So that was really attractive. And from there onwards, we just got licensed in multiple different states.
Gotcha. Okay. And she had an interest in this particular industry as well.
She did. She's fantastic at it. We kind of split our roles. Andrea more handles like the marketing side of things and making sure operationally we're legit, and I'm more of handling the clients, the face to face stuff, and the meetings, putting the deals together, doing valuations. So we split responsibilities.
Gotcha. So you're
In
more
the,
of the analytical mind.
I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. I forget if that's right brain or left brain. I feel like right brain's creative. I always get those mixed up. You're one part of the brain, she's the other part. Fair
She's the
statement.
she's the execution. I'm the ideas, but there's a lot
Okay.
of ideas there.
Well, yeah, speaking of that, are you familiar with Entrepreneur Operating System, EOS? You've heard of that
Yes,
before? Yeah, so that whole concept of how to run a business is based on one person being the visionary and the other person being the integrator. And it doesn't necessarily need to be husband and wife, but it sounds like you have that good yin and yang complement to each other.
we do. We really do. We like to sometimes call it good cop, bad cop because most business owners are actually husband and wife couples too. And it really allows us to get comfortable and build that relationship with our clients when they see we're just like them. We're
Yeah.
just a husband and wife fighting for the same goal, just like them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm going to take a different path too with you because I didn't think about this before the show, but you've got some insight in having seen, like you just mentioned, many, probably dozens, hundreds, thousands of businesses owned by spouses, and I bet you some money here that you may have entered the relationship with them because the relationship between them may not be working out in some cases. So
Yeah,
I want to touch on that here in just a little bit and go beyond just yours and Andrea's relationship. Um, but let's talk about this kind of divide and conquer, strategy. Was that something from the very beginning that you're like, hey, you're like this, I'm like that, we've been together a couple of years, or did you both dive in and then kind of figure out along the way how to divide up responsibilities?
yeah, it's exactly like you said. We both worked every single station in the beginning side by side, and we stepped on each other's toes, and we didn't necessarily agree with how we were doing things. And eventually, we figured out that we were better together, where we would focus on different goals. We would come together to plan and make sure that we're staying on top of task and everything, but we would execute on them individually. She comes with me pretty much all the time. If I have a meeting, and I know it's going to be a husband and wife, I'll bring her along, and it's a really great synergy. But for our business, it's so much better where we conquer and divide for sure.
Mm,
And we have
mm.
other team members too within our team, so we've really grown since it was just me and her.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Had a conversation on another episode where I asked, what was that moment where you realized you needed to kind of divide and conquer, and things weren't really working out, and it was, they mentioned it was them screaming at each other in front of the staff, and the staff were hiding under their desk, waiting for mom and dad to stop fighting. Um, so that was a defining moment, right? Did you guys have an event or kind of a knock down, drag out? This is not working. We have to reset, or was it more of a kind of a gradual thing?
No, we had a major reset. It's very difficult to separate your personal life and the business, and you know, it, I feel that I probably am really good at rubbing my wife the wrong way sometimes, just like
Mm-hmm.
most husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And it became apparent to me that she was mad at me for things that happened in business. And, I'd get into bed and want to cuddle, and she'd be pissed off at me over something I said at work or during business. And I couldn't comprehend how these things could mix together. And
Hmm.
eventually, we just had to separate these things and know that our marriage is sanctimonious and we can't ever allow any negative feelings that we have in business come into that place. So it
How
was definitely a learning experience. I had a lot of times where I was scratching my head trying to figure out what I could do differently.
how do you do that now? Like, how do you? There's different approaches or perspectives on, like, we don't bring work home. Yeah, we work together. We don't bring it home. Or of course we bring it home. Everything's integrated. Work is home. Home is work. It's all just together. So different strategies, perspectives there. But how do you guys organize that? Like, do you have dedicated personal time? We don't talk about work. Is it we talk about everything all the time, personal at work, and vice versa?
Yeah, I wish we were more structured like that, where we had certain times when we knew we couldn't talk about it. But we're so inundated with our business, we're so in the weeds that it's constantly a subject of conversation when we're waking up, when we're going to sleep. We're constantly thinking about our business. But I think that's why we're so successful too, because it is at the forefront of our minds all the time. But at the same time, I think it's okay to say, I'm not looking to talk about this right now. And we do say that. Sometimes it's just not a good time to talk about a certain thing in business. Maybe you're watching a show and you're just trying to relax, and it's not a good time to talk about something.
you you're watching a movie and you're like, "Hey,
Right.
that meeting we had yesterday," and she's like, "Not right now."
It's probably on the other side.
Other
I'm the
side.
one that's.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we were talking before the show. Mo is like, we're gonna have her on, and she's gonna tell me all the lies that you told about her in
Yeah,
season three. So that's good. You admitted that one, but
you're going to replace Jerry Springer
that's
eventually.
right. Yeah, that's been I we've been had our business for 15 years. I've been with my wife since we were 16 years old, and it's been a journey in like, let's try this out. We have date night. We're like real religious about date night, and we're like, okay, date night. We're not going to talk about work, but then we're kind of like sitting at the table going, so what do you want to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? It's like work is so much part of our life that that didn't work. Like, we can't go to date
Right.
night and just not talk anything about work. Doesn't make any sense because that's our life. We've got 3 kids, and so we'll talk about the kids. But date night was last night for us. It's Wednesday night, and naturally it was like, "Hey, what? Tell me about work today. Tell me about work this week. What are you working on right now?" And we have stuff together and separate. So I always wonder about those boundaries. Like I said, some people, they're religious about it. We don't talk about work during these times, and some are just, it's a free for all, kind of like it sounds like for you and me, where it's everything all the time, personal, work, it all blends in.
That's exactly right. Even when we say, okay, tonight we're not going to talk about business, give it 5 minutes, and all of a sudden it starts coming into the conversation. It doesn't take long.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so let's dive into the easiest part. So, like, how is it an advantage do you see? Like, so let's say, and I don't know if it's this way in your industry, but you're a business brokerage in Las Vegas with under a certain umbrella and brand, and you've got business broker number 2 out there competing in the same market, different brand, but kind of similar offerings. And, that guy or girl is solo, their spouse does something totally different. And then you two are doing it together. Is there anything that you see as like, thank God we're married? This is a competitive advantage. Like we have like, this is way better. I'm so glad I'm not that guy or that girl doing it solo.
That's a really good question because I have been able to see from Andrew's perspective what it's like doing business in the modern day when you're trying to be an utmost professional. There's still going to be people that try and find a way around that. What I mean by that is men still see an attractive woman and they don't want to focus on the business side of that person. They're more attracted to their looks, and it's very difficult for a woman trying to make their point and do business when that goes on. So working with her as much as I have, I've been able to see that side of things, and it definitely exists. But I think I also get that side of it because I have women jump on the phone with me all the time and tell me how much they love my accent. And I could have Andrea sat right next to me, and I have it on speakerphone,
Yeah.
and I just have to say thank you.
Okay, so I mean, you're each bringing your own assets to the table, right? So you get if the accent doesn't work with Mo, maybe she's intelligent and smart and dynamic, and who cares about
Hmm.
Mo, and vice versa. Okay,
Right.
I could see this kind of power couple is like, let's go into the meeting together and figure out where the energy is, and then someone kind of takes the lead at that point.
That's exactly right. We're looking for an area where we can make a relationship. When we go into that room, we're chameleons. It depends on who's in the room, and we'll find a way to make the relationship.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Um, we asked you a question before the show. I want you to expand on is taking lessons from marriage, and applying that into business. So, anything that you've learned in marriage, and you go, we've got to apply that. I know everything's so integrated, but anything come to mind there?
I think just trying to acknowledge people's emotions. In my business, we have to deal with a lot of different emotions. Most people are selling their baby. A business is something you've grown, you know every single thing about it, and it's a part of your life. And whenever we help our clients sell their business, a lot of the conversation that we have doesn't ever really make any sense because it's just pure emotions that they're talking from. And I think being able to build such a strong relationship with my wife, I also had to be aware of her emotions and what she's feeling and her goals. And it's the same thing for my clients. I'm ultra aware and focused on what they want to achieve, and I'm just trying to help drive them there.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Makes sense. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and then I want to talk about, as promised from earlier, going into other people's marriages. Don't mention any names, right? But I want to
Hmm.
hear about, you've seen businesses inside and out, people that have great marriages and build a great business together and they're retiring, and probably others where it's not working because the marriage isn't working and those two working together isn't working. And they're saying, we're hands up, like just get the business out of our lives. And I think we can learn some things from any examples that you have there on maybe what to avoid or not to do. Um, but Mo, you're in Vegas, been to the Gents Place before. We launched the gentsstore.com recently. That's our sponsor for the show today and all of season 2. And the Gents Store provides up to, or actually over now, 3,000 products that our members can shop from. And 20% of all of those purchases go back in the form of an annual membership credit to use at the Gents Place. You can shop anywhere in the country. You don't have to be a Gents Place member, but you get that extra credit when you do live next to one of our locations. So, an enormous selection. We've got sandals from Hari Mari, who we had on the show this season. We have travel bags, $1,000 beautiful leather travel bags. We're gonna have motorcycles. Maybe by the time this episode airs, motorcycles on the site, and coffee, everything in between. So go to thegentstore.com. Shop for anything you want to shop for, and if you don't see something you like, there's a little link at the bottom where you can recommend a product, and we promise to reach out to your favorite brand. And if you use code Untrapped, you'll get free shipping. Um, Mo, let's talk about other people for a moment here, because that's what you do all day long. Um,
That's the easy part.
that's right. Yeah. Let's go with the things that let's go to the dark side. People coming to you because of relational problems. Um, can't work together anymore. We're done. Been doing this for however many years. Any patterns that you've seen and why those things are not working out with them, either working together in the business or husband or wife works in the business, spouse is doing something totally different. But any lessons learned there for those listening in on what to avoid?
It seems like there is synergy between the problems that you're talking about and the location of where these people live and do business. For example, in Vegas, it's a very common issue that we come across is gambling.
Mm,
And business owners have gambling addictions, and you look at their financials and there's all this cash being pulled out that doesn't really make any sense why, and they don't really want to tell you they have a gambling problem.
mm,
So that comes up, and that has been, a big reason why people sell and get divorced. We've had it in the past where people have extracurricular relationships outside of their marriage,
mm-hmm,
and there's certain expenses again on the business side of things that don't make sense, that they don't want you to talk about in front of the wife.
mm.
And we've had to overcome situations like that too.
Wow. So when
You wanted to go to the dark side.
yeah, man. And so you're looking, I mean, simply looking at a P&L and looking at bank statements and seeing, ATM charges, wires, all of that stuff. Um, there's typically a bigger issue there at hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. I did not think about that in terms of Vegas. So, I mean, that alone generates business for you guys. I mean, it's unfortunate, right? But just in being in proximity, was that strategic for you? Did you know that going to Vegas that was the
I,
case?
I didn't realize the problem was as bad as it was until I moved here. I remember within a week of moving here, we were at MGM Grand, and as soon as we walked through the doors, there was a lady being dragged by both arms out the door, and she was screaming, "I just lost my child's college fund."
Oh, wow.
That was the moment for me that I realized that people lose everything in Vegas,
Mm,
and that's why there's so many homeless here.
yeah. Wow. Never thought about it. It gives me chills. Well, I mean, what a great resource that you provide, though, being able to like turn some lemons into lemonade, try to get to a business exit, maybe pay off some of the debt, get back some of the losses or reset. Um, let's talk about the kind of the bright side of what you've seen in other people. Any patterns in, I've bought and sold this number of businesses where the couple what stayed intact. They've owned the business for 20 years. They've been married for 20, 25 years. Any commonalities or patterns there that we could point people to and say, do more of that? Did they do date night religiously every week? Did they stay in their own lanes? Like anything where you pick up and you go, these two or three things I've seen as not a guarantee, but higher likelihood of success.
That is a really good question. And the one that I would say would be whenever it's a husband and wife that are in the trenches daily together. Those are the most successful relationships that I've seen. My most favorite clients that I work with are the ones that are blue collar service type of business. Husband and wife have started it together. They got several employees. They operate the day to day together. Those are the type of relationships that people have been married for 20, 30 years. They've got businesses that are equally as old as their marriage. And, I hope one day me and Andrew will be the same way. And that's really the common thing that I see is it's always when the husband and wife is together in the day to day,
Mm-hmm.
they have a mutual respect. They understand what the hard work is about, but they're also able to appreciate the wins even more
Mm-hmm.
together.
So do you think it's more of a challenge let me present two scenarios. You have scenario one, and I'm just going to use, man business owner. Man owns the business, and woman, wife is like, I'm not an entrepreneur. I have nothing to do with that. That's not me. I'm going to take care of the kids, have my own career, but it's totally separate. He does his thing. I do my thing. So that's scenario one versus scenario two, where it's like, we're both in it together. He does the accounting. I do the sales. They stay in their lanes and they work it all out that way, which is the scenario you're providing, is based on just your business brokerage experience and seeing things work or not work. Is it better to be in the business together? Is it better to be separate where you have those like boundaries? Um, maybe, is it based on something else? Because I see problems both sides. Like when you're telling me, if you're in it together and working together and everything, there's a counter opinion that says that's a recipe for disaster because you're like, there's no personal time, there's no family time. The business consumes everything. So, any thoughts around, like, I'm sure you've seen both of those scenarios many times.
I think there's more mutual respect whenever they're involved in the day to day of a business together. I've heard of it where the wife stays at home and looks after the kids, and every single day when the husband comes home, he's puffing his chest out. I was the one that went to work today, and you stayed home, and there's always that negative disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the modern women and wives out there want to be involved in a business, whether it be their own or something they're doing with their husband. I think that's the modern woman now, is they want to have kids, they want to have a family, but they also want to have a professional life at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tend to agree with you on that. And I think if our listeners, if that makes sense to them, one of the takeaways I believe is, if you are in that environment where one person is working the business, the other person is doing something totally different, doesn't have to be staying at home, could be they have their own career or whatever. When you lack context, when you're not communicating consistently, maybe that is date night or it's section time to go, let me tell you what's going on. We own our own business, but I'm working it all the time. Um, Let me tell you what's going on in the business right now. Hey, sales for Black Friday were down. That could potentially affect our Christmas vacation. But here's what I'm doing to work things out. But it's like, I think you've got to be, if you're in this scenario one where you're siloed, that information exchange is really critical. And you got to be like conscious and proactive, because if you don't communicate and then you hit them with, what do you mean you're like, what do you mean we're going to Italy on summer vacation? We can't afford that. Like, the business is losing money and the spouse is going, what?
The communication aspect is so key. And in the beginning, that wasn't our strong point. We had to learn how to communicate. And because we worked together all the time, when we were communicating about our personal relationship, it was as if we were talking business.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking in a business way about how we feel and about our relationship. And you can't really do that. You have
Mm-hmm.
to talk about it in a husband and wife way, not, professional and PC in your conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Well, Mo, it's great to get to know you a little bit better here virtually. And I do make it up to Vegas quite often. So I'd love to meet you in person. Let our listeners know where they can find you, either social media, website, if they just want to learn more about you, or if they want to hopefully buy or sell their business.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Ben. So you can find us at our website, businessbrokerteam.com. I work for First Choice Business Brokers, and we have Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. All of those you can find it on our website, businessbrokerteam.com.
Businessbrokerteam.com. All right, Mo, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll talk to you again soon, buddy.
Thank you,
All
Ben.
right.
Take care. Bye-bye.